it's me, your Femboy, and today is a special kind of video because it is a request, which are always super fun, and I love to do those. So I was like, I have to do this one, especially since it was very interesting, an idea that I don't think I would have came up with like myself, even though it does make sense. They basically asked for a sort of video that is kind of like a breakdown and sort of my experiences sort of becoming a femboy, like how it happened and sort of the processes that led to where I am now. So I figured I would do that today. This is my journey as a femboy, and I did not want to make this super over edited. I will have a couple pictures and I will have probably some music just because I like it to make it all pretty and find some really cutesy kind of music to play in the background because I don't know, I like that. Sure, it gives me more trouble because I am editing all my own videos and I am really, really bad at editing videos, so I am sorry about that. But yeah, so it's basically today's video is what was my journey as a femboy, and I have sort of like some base outlines, like some major sort of events and like parts of like the grand Bork timeline, but I will say that this is a lot more unscripted and it's just going to be me sort of talking about my experiences, and I hope that's okay with you. So okay, so I would say it all kind of started when I was about 14. And I knew I was always a little different, like, I mean, for more than just reasons other than like my gender and stuff. I knew I don't know, like, it's so cliche to say like I was one of those outcasts that nobody liked, but I kind of like was. When I was younger, I actually originally, like when I was really, really young, I was like this. I was very bubbly and I sort of liked to make friends and be all silly, like a goofball around people. But I would say that people where I grew up really didn't like it and often would make fun of me to the point where I just kind of got very withdrawn and like in my own shell, and it was very hard for me to get out of that shell. And because of that, I grew up very sort of like lonely. And I was just like terrified of talking to anybody because I thought they were going to make fun of me for the smallest little teeny bits. But around the time, when I say 14, yeah, around the time I was 14 was when I kind of started developing feelings like not only am I different than other people because, you know, I'm a lot more like annoying, but also I'm just different and so in this other way I didn't know how to explain. And it really came in like when I was sorry, what I was meant to say was it really sort of came up, especially thinking about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like everyone, like all the other boys my age, they wanted to be like these big, strong, burly men, and we're actually starting to kind of become that way through puberty and things like that. And I did not want that at all, like no siree. The idea of being a man just really made me feel uncomfortable, and I really didn't want it at all. So and I thought, well, and this kind of leads to the big first step I made towards sort of, I guess, like, sorry also if I am annoying you by flooping my hair. I do this also a lot of times in real life where I'll just see a reflection and be like, oh, my hair's not floopy enough, I gotta refloop it. Especially since it's all shiny and gross looking, because I got hairspray from TJ Maxx. Here, I'll just tuck this behind my ear. I got some hairspray from TJ Maxx, and that is not a very good idea because, well, sometimes you could get some good hair products. When I try and get the hair products that I like to use, they have never worked out. They're always a lot stickier and I have to use way more of it, and it's just no bueno. But back on topic. So when I was 17, I actually, and it might have just been because I had a family friend who was very knowledgeable about being transgender. and things like that. And this is also before not like being non-binary was like a thing that I felt like I really heard about. And so I thought that there was only the option of being a very masculine man or a very feminine woman. And since I knew I didn't want to be a very masculine man, I thought, well, of course, I'll go with the other option, which is being a feminine woman. So I wanted to transition into becoming a trans girl. And that's what I did actually. I started HRT like the year after. So, and thankfully, I got really lucky. A lot of people who are trying to get on hormones have to jump through hoops to do it. And I really don't remember the circumstances of why it was so much easier for me. But just overall, I felt like it was not nearly as much of a process as I heard it was. And I got on hormones actually fairly quickly. And it took a while to see results. I used to be super ugly, like awful. Like that is like me when I just started hormones or even a little bit before hormones. And so it was pretty darn drastic. I definitely, like, so there were sort of the seeds of what I would look like later. But back then, especially really exploring like a more feminine side of things was really difficult. And I really didn't know how to express that properly, especially when I looked the way I did. And so I really felt like that is part of the reason why I just look so awkward and just like ugly. So I actually changed my name. Like I went that like much into it. And unfortunately, I changed to something very feminine. And later down the line, that obviously wouldn't make a lot of sense coming from where I wanted to eventually be, which was like how I am now, more, I guess, like non-binary, but still presenting with mostly he pronouns, I guess. So that kind of led to some oopsies later on. But at the time, I thought that was amazing. I had such a girly name, so of course that made me more girly, and I liked the idea of being more girly at the time. And that being said, around the time I was 19, I discovered femboys. At first, it was through my ex, and he sort of would send some femboys occasionally, like, or at least like some accounts of like really sexy looking, what I thought were girls, but then like they presented themselves as boys, and I thought that was such a cool concept. But at the time, I didn't think I would ever go like that far into that. I thought I felt comfortable where I was of being like fully a girl, and I didn't really even think about the possibility like, oh, I could be feminine but still be a boy. And especially that was a bit of a problem. I feel like that really cropped up around the time I even started communicating with the trans community, because I did not really relate to some of the things they were saying. I thought I was weird, even when I thought I finally overcome what made me feel so like separated from everyone else. I felt separated from what I thought was my community, and it was just this awful feeling of feeling like I don't belong anywhere, do I? And so it was yucky. And it definitely took like a lot to sort of really like look into and kind of realize like, why do I feel like that? Why don't I like feel at home with these other like members of my community? And it's just, I didn't know how to process it at the time. I feel like for the longest time I didn't even think about it. I just thought that was like the only answer, was I had to be at this point it was like too late, like I had to be a girl. But I would say about a year after that, I sort of really started to have sort of like second doubts about everything, sort of thinking like, well, I could maybe just be one of those femboys. Like that sounds a lot like me. And so I did kind of push that side down a lot when I was thinking about it. I was really like, no, that's not me. That's weird. Like that's too much. And then everything sort of changed Also, I keep touching my hair. I know I should just leave it alone, but it's just like, it's bothering me. Like, hairspray is supposed to keep your hair nice and in shape, but this hairspray is just weighing it down and make it gross and flat. So I'm sorry. I hope you don't mind. But what I was saying was everything started when I started the whole Borkasaur thing, which originally, even though it is the username of this, for those who don't know, I have a very not safe for work, like, content I've been making a lot longer before this YouTube channel. And if you look up this, like, that username anywhere else, it's not going to be as family friendly as the stuff you're going to see here. That's all I'm going to say. But I originally started on Tumblr, and this was before they shot themselves in the foot. I was like, and it really allowed me to explore that side of me a bit. And originally I used terms, it was like, as just a bunch of random tags that were loosely related to being like a trans girl, kind of like things like Fuda. And I would also tag it as Femboy, just because sometimes that's like roughly associated together in the not safe for work community. And so I kind of just ended up really liking it. There's just something about the term that just felt like right, and especially sort of realizing that I don't feel completely like a girl. I think I might have jumped the gun too quickly, and that really isn't how I feel, like, in my heart and everything like that. So what I did was, at first I would introduce myself more like that to strangers, and I liked the sort of reaction. I realized I liked actually being called he and him. That wasn't a problem. I don't mind she and her, of course. But I do like it. It felt more at home. It didn't feel like, almost like how when people call me a she, it almost felt like they were talking to like someone that wasn't me, like a stranger. And it just didn't feel right, but that felt right. And it really just meant a lot in my little heart. And I'm really happy I experimented with that, because if I didn't, I don't think I would even identify as Femboy. I might still be going as a girl, even if it's wasn't completely 100% how I felt at the time. And so then that began the second name change, and thankfully the last name change. This time to something much more unisex, which made sense, because that's how I wanted to, if anything, since I know Femboy can almost be seen as like a fetish thing, where it's like you can't identify as a femboy, it's just a fetish. But I'm a feminine boy, so I don't know. But I do say, especially if I'm in like an LGBT circle or something, I think non-binary also fits, as I don't feel entirely on one side or the other, and more sort of in between, or if anything leaning more towards one side sometimes. So that's kind of what I decided to do. And actually I've really been I'm much happier, and I really felt like I found my identity, and I found sort of my community of that really I relate to. And it's just wonderful. Like, honestly, I probably could have stretched this video into like a whole hour and focus on a bunch of tiny little events and everything, and maybe I will if anyone's interested in that. But ultimately I kind of just want to get the point across that I actually realized that I went backwards, and like how a lot of femboys end up becoming trans girls, and yet I was the other way around. And at first I thought that was weird and I must be doing something wrong and everything, but it's just like, that's just how I prefer. This is how I identify as. And even though it was simpler to explain back then, I don't care. It's my identity, and since it's my identity, I get to choose what I feel comfortable with, and I feel comfortable being a femboy. So there you go. So honestly, like I said, I could have gone way more into depth with this, and I might, if anyone has specific questions. I kind of just wanted to cover the bases and sort of what really sort of my journey, my experience, sort of the timeline from cis, like masculine boy when I was just like teeny tiny and like in California, all chubby and round, to where I am now, where I'm not as chubby and round. And I don't know, I really enjoy where I am now a lot more. And honestly, if you are kind of feeling the same, just realize you do not have to fit into just like what the boxes that people tell you to. Of course, it's easier to just be like if you feel feminine urges that you need to be a female, if you feel masculine urges you need to be a male. Like, there's so many gray areas. There's so many little spots that you could just fit into, and they don't tell you that. And it's just like, I feel like it really is useful and just helpful to know that if you're like me and you thought you were trans, but then you decided to sort of back up and pick another identity, you didn't like fail. You didn't like quit or anything. Like, it's not shameful. It's a big part of finding yourself is just experimenting. And it's fun to experiment anyway, so I don't see a lot of problem in it. But yeah, so I really do hope that this wasn't too boring or anything like that. I just figured this was a video request, of course. So I wanted to get it out of the way, and sort of, because it's kind of fun. So I was just like, you know what, why not? And so also that does explain why I would say I look so feminine, is because I was female for a little bit. God, that's so terrible. I'm sorry. And unfortunately, well, actually, I would say a lot of people ask, like, do I regret taking hormones because I identify so masculine? I identify masculine now. And I really don't. Especially as a femboy, I feel I like kind of straddling that in between. Even though I am, like, people will always 99% of the time assume I'm a girl because of the way I look and my voice and my sort of cadence and body expressions and stuff. I don't mind that whatsoever. I feel like that's a good reason why, even though I do identify as a femboy, I do feel a lot of non-binary urges as well, because I definitely do feel fine with either, but I lean much more heavily towards masculine, and that's just how I like it. So but what I was saying with that is hormones are amazing, easily. Also, I don't even know if it's the same for everybody, but I was so ugly. I mean, you saw the picture. But yeah, with hormones, it sort of like unlocked something. I definitely wouldn't be like so egotistical to say I'm pretty or anything, but definitely I'm not as ugly. Unfortunately, it does not take remove a lot of your facial hair or anything, so I still got that. Also, I remembered why I like to wear a mask so much in videos, because I hate this whole mug. But I will say I do really appreciate you watching this video. It means a whole lot to me that you would. It also just means a whole lot to, I forget who originally requested this, I'm so sorry. But it means a whole lot that you would in the first place, because it's just, I like to share my experiences because I feel like it's even kind of weird and different in even the weird and different community I'm in. So yeah, I'm gonna end this before I get embarrassed for showing so much of my ugly chubby mug. So I love you, and I want to rev you too.